Matt Fury tells a story about when he was preparing for the World Kung Fu Championship. He was in a sauna in Beijing. He was trying to lose the last few pounds to make weight for the championship. And he was sitting in the sauna and beads of sweat started to come down. And then he put on a vinyl suit. Then he put on some wool sweats and put on a winter hat and got on a treadmill. And some guy said to him, are you okay? Because he was sweating a lot. He said, yeah. And he was hoping to end the conversation there. And the guy continued, you're going to really be low energy. You're not going to have enough energy if you keep doing that. And Matt said, I didn't ask for your opinion. And the man said, enjoy yourself. Don't work so hard. And Matt said, would you do me a favor? Sure, yeah, what can I do? Go talk to someone else. His point was that he needed to do what he needed to do to win this championship. He had to lose those last few pounds to make the championship. And enjoying himself and not working hard was not part of it. And that's what I want to talk with you today about. You know, I'm all for enjoying our life, certainly. In fact, I believe and aspire to what the saints and sages have taught us, that our image is joy, that we're creating an image and likeness of joy, and that life can be something that we're always in that joy all the time. But that doesn't mean that we don't have hard things that we've got to do. It doesn't mean that we're just going to do passive things that we enjoy and that everything is about enjoying it. No, you know, it's possible to be in joy, I-N-J-O-Y. It's possible to be in joy while really doing something that requires a lot of focus and attention. And I think a lot of people may avoid accomplishing the things that are important to them because they just want it to be fun. They want every moment to be fun. They just want to enjoy themselves. And consequently, they're not making any progress because they're procrastinating on doing what needs to be done because I don't feel like doing it. I'd rather sit back and watch television. I'd rather relax right now, or that just doesn't sound like it's going to be enjoyable. If Matt had taken that attitude that this guy was giving him, he wouldn't have won the World Kung Fu Championship. And in fact, we wouldn't accomplish much at all if we were just looking to enjoy ourselves in that way. And I want to talk to you about what I call flow fun. Doesn't mean that we don't have times to relax and just enjoy ourselves. No, I'm not saying that. That's part of being balanced. But what I am saying, there's something else called what I'm calling flow fun. And I think it can be very important to understand the difference between pleasure and what psychologists call gratification. Pleasure is kind of a passive state, right? It's passive. When you watch a movie or watch television, you're passive. You're not really doing anything, really. The ones you're watching are the ones who are doing the work. They've prepared, the script was written, they've rehearsed, they're practiced, they're working, they're on. And we're just passively taking it in, and it's enjoyable. But that's pleasure. Can you think of other things that we do that are just for pleasure? How about eating? Hey, I love chocolate, homemade chocolate chip cookies. But when I eat a chocolate chip cookie, I'm not doing anything. I'm just eating. The person who cooked it, they put in effort, they put in energy, but the eating part, for that matter, eating anything is pretty passive, right? It's pleasurable, hopefully, if the food is good. Taking a bubble bath, walking the dog, walking through the park, looking at a sunset. They're all kind of passive and they're great, you know. It's pleasure. Laughing at a joke. So that's pleasure. Can you think of other things? Looking at flowers. These are all nice. They're all important. But it's different from gratification. Gratification is when you are really doing something that requires energy, it requires focus, it requires concentration, and it stretches you. In other words, it's just beyond your ability, and you really need to put your energy into it to accomplish what you're trying to do. It's not too big for you, in other words. In the early 90s, there was a book called Flow, The Psychology of Optimal Experience. I read it when it was published back then, by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Now, that's an unusual name, but if you saw how it was spelled, you'd be like, I was. How do I say that? That's how you do it. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. What he did was revolutionary in psychology. Back in the day, he had people around the world put on a beeper. And they would beep people at certain times during the day and ask them, what are you doing right now? And how are you feeling? And what they discovered was what he came to call flow. People were happiest not when they were taking a bubble bath or, not when they were engaged in pleasure. They were happiest when they were doing something where it required energy and focus and concentration. It was challenging, and they were totally engaged. Isn't that interesting? For instance, let's take rock climbing. And by the way, this experience of flow can be experienced, according to Csikszentmihalyi, in any activity that requires focus, concentration, effort, energy, as long as it's not too beyond your ability, and it requires real engagement. Rock climbing, for instance, when you're, I'm not going to say when you're a rock climber or when I'm rock climbing. I don't plan on doing that. But there's some pretty interesting movies out on it right now. I think there was a kid who climbed without ropes or support. But when you're climbing a mountain, rock climbing, you really have to focus. And you really, you got ropes and you don't want to fall, and it really requires all your energy and concentration. When people are cooking a meal or doing other stuff, it requires focus and concentration. And there is an internal sense of gratification. There's a satisfaction. There's a joy. There's what I call a flow fun when you're doing that. And the neat part is, while you're doing that, you grow as a person. Because it's internally enjoyable, you want to do more of it. And the more of it you do, the better at it you get. So you actually are growing, whether it's music, whether it's your work that you do, whether it's a hobby, a sport. You're maximizing your potential when you do that. Whereas when they beeped people who were watching television, oftentimes these people were feeling slightly depressed. Isn't that interesting? I can relate to that because I love movies, by the way. And when I would take a day off, there was a period of time where I might see 2 movies. And sometimes I would feel sadness. There was something about just taking in passive stuff. And I learned to balance my life with some, maybe a movie, and then some stuff that requires active participation, engagement, that I could experience flow fun. See, and that's how we progress with stuff. And that's how we grow. I read in a book by Martin Seligman, who is a psychologist, and he's written some great books also about this optimal experience. And he tells a story of a man who had this rare lizard in his house, and the lizard as a pet, and the lizard was not eating. And this man went out of his way to try to produce food that this lizard would eat. He got all kinds of stuff. He tried some fruits. He tried bringing in flies. Imagine what would you feed a lizard? I don't know. And the lizard wouldn't eat. One day, the man went to the deli, bought himself a ham sandwich and a newspaper, came home, put the ham sandwich down on the table and covered with the newspaper, and next thing you know, the lizard was attacking the newspaper, shredded the newspaper, and ate the ham sandwich. What was this? A non-kosher lizard who liked ham sandwiches? I don't know. No, that's not what it was. What it was is the lizard didn't want passive food. He wanted to fight for his food. He needed to go after that food. And when he was challenging that newspaper and taking apart that newspaper, it awakened his appetite. Interesting, right? When you and I are engaged, when we're involved in what we're doing, putting forth energy, using our abilities, our talents, it awakens something inside of us. St. Paul said, stir up the gift of God that is within you. We're stirring up this flow fun when we are putting forth the energy, the effort. I think it's important to understand that life isn't just all about, well, I just want to have fun. I just want to do what I enjoy, because we all reach that point where we don't feel like doing stuff, right? And if you just listen to that, if you just listen to, well, it's not fun, I don't really want to do it, I don't feel like doing it, I just want to rest, I want to engage in passive stuff, and believe me, people are spending lots of their time every day watching videos on YouTube, watching television, watching movies, and they wonder, they feel upset inside in some way that they're not reaching their abilities. They're not reaching their dreams, their goals. They're very passive. And so that's why I think it's important to understand this, that you got to get past that little wall that says, I don't feel like doing it, or I just want to have fun, and recognize there's a whole other kind of fun you can be having. It's called flow fun. I'm calling it flow fun. Flow fun, where you just do it. You make yourself do it. And when you get into it, there is a type of joy and a focus. Some of you know I'm a golfer. I'm a competitive golfer. I don't always tell you what I'm up to in that arena, but I'm usually, somewhere in the hunt, let's say, in a golf tournament. And there's a flow fun to it. It demands focus, concentration, strategy, and it demands quite a bit of training. And I like to put in about an hour a day, 6 days a week. That's what I require in order to stay sharp, in order to be competitive in these tournaments. But by the end of a workday, I often don't feel like practicing. I don't feel like doing that because it's not particularly fun. You know what's fun? When you're in the heat of competition and you're playing well. That's what's fun. It's fun to be outside looking at nature and all that. That's pleasure. But it's gratifying to improve at something, to get better at something. But it takes energy. So oftentimes I'll be like, just get up. Let's spend 20 minutes, if not an hour. Do 20 minutes of it. And you know what happens? I get into flow fun. there's a flow that takes place. There's an energy that happens, and then it's easy to do. You just, next thing you know, I find that after 20 minutes, let's keep going. This is good. This is good. Sometimes it goes longer than an hour. But that's what I'm talking about. That's how we make progress. Writers, they don't feel like, oh, goody, I'm going to be writing. Oftentimes, they have a lot of writing classes and experts. They say they set a time to write. They don't go, well, I'm going to write when I feel like it. I'm going to write when I feel inspired. No, they have a set time to write, and they're going to get their butt in that chair, turn on the computer, or pull out their legal pad, and they're going to write whether they feel inspired by it or not. It's not, yippee, this is going to be fun, but it's flow fun. Because once they get started, once they start writing, then, they're using their brain, they're using their mind, they're using their heart, their spirit. They get into a flow. And then there's an enjoyment in there. And there's a satisfaction that they've done what is important to them. Do you know what's important to you, what your intentions are in life? What is it? Maybe you want to write a book. Maybe you want to start a business. Maybe you want to up-level what you're doing in your career. Maybe you want to start a new business or develop a hobby. Maybe you want to get in better physical condition. You want to eat better. You want to exercise more. I don't know what it is for you. But it's not necessarily going to be ha-ha fun, what I call ha-ha fun, right? For me, being fit, being healthy is one of my top values. And I go to the gym 3 days a week, and I do some exercise every day. But I often don't. I've been doing this, I can't even remember for how long. I often don't feel like going to the gym. When I think it's like, okay, time to go to the gym, there's a part of me that groans a little bit. Why? Because I guess there's something in human nature. Some would say inertia, and some have referred to inertia as the satanic pull that wants you to stay where you are, unless you get yourself going. Remember inertia, things will remain at rest unless there's an external force to get them going. And once they get them going, then they keep moving. Well, that can be us, can it? Where we just want to, the gym, I don't want to go, I don't want to exercise, I don't feel like it. Here's the thing, you may be wondering, where's the spirituality in this? The spirituality is, everything is spiritual. All your thoughts, your mind, your body, life, it's all part of the continuum of spirituality. And here we go. You in there, hello in there, you are consciousness. You're not your mind, you're not your emotions, you're not your body. So when we have the feeling of, I don't feel like it, I don't feel like doing it, I want to just sit on the couch and turn on the television. And we're all there at times, aren't we? And there's a place for that too, place for pleasure, place for balance. But don't overdo it, right? You in there can choose what you want to do. You said you're going to do such and such, so you in there can say, all right, I know you don't feel like going to the gym, but we're going to the gym. Right? Because you're greater than what your mind is telling you. You're greater than the emotional pull or the inertial pull, the satanic force. You're greater than that. And you can say, I'm going. And same thing, when I go to the gym, it's not all ha-ha, this is wonderful, No, it's doing push-ups is hard. I'll get down and do, after 3 or 4 push-ups, which is not fun, it's not particularly enjoyable, but once I get going, then there is flow fun. There's a flow in it, and there's a satisfaction in it. Once I'm there, once I get going, now I'm in flow. And when you're done doing whatever it is that you wanted to do, whether it's sitting down writing, whether it's sitting down and creating that business plan for your business, whether it's going for a walk or working on your skills of some kind, it takes getting yourself started to do it. But once you're engaged in it, now you can experience the flow. And when you're done with it, you have the satisfaction. I always do. I go to the gym. After the workout, I always feel greater clarity. My body feels good. I might be a little tired, but I feel good, and I feel inward satisfaction, gratification. I feel the joy of having done what was good for me and what's going to contribute toward my long-term goals of being healthy, being strong, of being flexible, of having energy. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about realizing that there are things that you got to do that are not particularly fun. In fact, they may be really hard to do, depending on where you are in what you're getting involved in. If you're starting something new, it may be incredibly hard. But putting your concentration and your focus in it and stepping in is a type of flow fun. So I encourage you to do more activities that involve your energy and your focus. If you're tempted to, well, I'm just going to watch more television or a movie, or I'm just going to chill out and just, be passive, and there's a place for that. I like to have that in my week as well. Challenge yourself. No, wait a minute. Let me do something that's going to contribute toward my goals and what's important to me. I don't really feel like it, but I'm going to make myself do it anyway, because I know once I get involved in it, I'm going to be in a flow. I read one time, a guy said, just set 20 minutes. Tell yourself, I'm going to put 20 minutes into it. And once you're into it for that time period, you might find yourself wanting to spend more time in that activity. So you and I have the ability to, because we're consciousness, because we are greater than the mind, greater than the emotion, greater than the body, we have the ability to make ourselves do what we need to do to accomplish what we want to accomplish. And when we do that, when we put forth energy, when we put forth concentration, there's a flow, there's a gratification, there is a joy in doing what we know is helping us move in the direction of the things that are important to us, the things that are making us healthy, the things that are helping us make a difference on the planet, the things that are helping us to be more prosperous, to help us fulfill the reason that we're here on the planet. And we can find joy in the moment, even though it's hard, even though it's tough. There's some gratification by putting ourselves into that moment. And then when the results come, wow, that's enjoyable too. So start now, spend more time tapping into your flow fun. Let's get still for a moment. And we just acknowledge that as spiritual beings, we always have a choice. We have a choice to bring forth the good that Spirit would have us bring forth. That we have talents and abilities that we can develop. In fact, we're probably familiar with the parable of the talents. The one who invested himself. The one who develops her abilities, her gifts, who puts forth energy and gives forth concentration and focus, receives an inner satisfaction, receives a development of her abilities, who grows as a person in talents, abilities, in contribution, and finds a great deal of inner satisfaction. So, Spirit, we thank you for your guidance and direction in our life and for your presence unfolding through us, giving us the clarity, the strength, the discernment to do what is ours to do, even when it's hard, even when we don't feel like doing it. You help us to make the choices that help us grow and find joy and satisfaction. And we're grateful. And so it is. Amen. Thank you for joining us for today's live stream service at the Unity Center of New York City. We appreciate you, and I invite you to join me now in affirming the prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. I want to remind you to join us following the service, a few minutes at the end of the service, for Ask Me Anything. Get your questions ready. And again, it'll be a few minutes after we end the service. And I look forward to hanging out with you and answering your questions. So if you can't stay, thanks for joining us today. And I look forward to seeing you again next time. I'm Justin Epstein. God bless you.